Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. We're here at HQ. It is that time of the year where we are getting ready for the fall run. And so what I've been doing out here today is removing all of my summer fishing gear, tackle setups, and I'm swapping it with my fall run gear. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of just share with you, what that looks like and how I'm doing things. Kind of give you a brief overview and what I'm doing for my fall run fishing here on Lake Michigan for our kings. And I will preface this and say that I have two amazing e-courses. I'll link to them down below on my Patreon where you can learn about how to target staging kings and the fall run kings. They're both well over 30 minutes, maybe even close to an hour-long videos where I go in depth, breaking down tactics, covering the harbors and strategies and points where to focus at in the harbor, lures, presentations, how I'm running it. So if you want a really in-depth rundown, feel free to check out those links down below and help lessen that learning curve, make the most of your time out in the water. All right, with that being said, let's talk about what I've removed out of here. The bulk of my flasher flies are out. The lead cores are gone. The, what else? The spoon box is gone. All of that's been removed out because I'm no longer summer fishing and really gonna be doing any offshore fishing. And if I do offshore fishing, it's still related to targeting the kings. And so because of that, I'm swapping things out. So let me kind of walk you through what I've brought on board when I'm setting up in here on the lures and setups. First, we'll start with one of my first rod setups here. There's no secret that reef runners, crankbaits are a great way to target kings. They just work, and they've been working for many years. And with that, I think the reef runners or the crankbaits, I'll just say more broadly, are a great lure for numbers of kings, to get just more bites, overall opportunities. And you're gonna get a wide range of some of the jack kings that are running and all the way up to your bigger ones. And I've got myself hooked here, apologies. So for that setup, I have my Okuma SST mag taper rod. This is a 7'10" rod. Exceptional value for the rod, very stiff in the back. Gives you a lot of play in the front, so you get a lot of action. You get a great fight out of these fish. Got it paired up with Okuma Cold Water 203, 20-pound braid. And then I'll put my reef runner of choice on here and I'll flatline troll this. And you're always toying around with the amount of line I'm letting out to get that reef runner down in front of them. And that's part of learning that and figuring that out. So this always vary, but this is gonna be just a flatline trolled rod. It'll probably be on my right side of the kayak, on my starboard side as I troll it. Pretty straightforward on that one. Now, on my downrigger on my kayak here, you have to excuse me, it's very, very hot out here. On the downrigger, the chute, I'm gonna be running a paddle, and I'm not running any paddle, I'm running big 11-inch paddles. The one I have right now, I just put this on right now, but it's just a white UV glow from Dreamweaver. I have a white fly on here for the time being. This is always gonna change. The idea here though is I'm running a big paddle straight down, just off the bottom. A lot of these kings will tend to be very close, if not sitting on the bottom. And you might not even think that they're there, but they're just literally laying on the bottom. That water's so warm, they're very uncomfortable. They don't move around a lot most of the time. So I'm trying to put this big paddle in front of them to piss them off and get them to react and to get a bite. So this is gonna be on my rigger rod. Same rod as my crankbait rod, the Magnum SST Okuma, Magnum taper, if you will. 203 size, reel, 20-pound braid, cold water, and that's the setup. And this will be off the rigger, and I'm running it, maybe like 10 to 12 feet off the ball, really tight, and I'm putting it down there just off the bottom to really stir them up and get some reactionary bites from those fish. Next, my favorite, these are my favorites now. I've got two kind of different setups, but they're both all related around plugs. Now, plugs are by far my favorite way to target kings because they absolutely destroy these things, hit it extremely aggressively, and just something about them they don't like, and it makes for an incredible fight, incredible strike. Them rods bend over. Anyway, I have this one, and now you need to get these down. You're gonna have to use some kind of a weight system. So I will be using my torpedo weights, and because I'm mostly gonna be fishing what I would say shallower water inside of 50 feet, let's say, I'm gonna be using my 8-ounce torpedo. I think the 8 ounce is great for inside of 50 feet of water. I'm not gonna use the 12s. You don't have to go heavier. You don't need to, but I'm gonna use the 8-ouncer to get this guy down there. Now, This rod that I'm using, because I'm putting our torpedo on here, I'm using my Guide Select Pro Okuma rod. These rods are fantastic because this is 8'2", a little bit longer. It's rated up to 5 ounce weight, but I can tell you from using it myself, it can hold 16 ounces of a round ball weight or whatever weight you want to put on here. It can hold up to 16 ounces. It's that stiff and it holds beautifully. So I like it for that reason. It's a little bit higher price point, but it gives you that flexibility and the ability rather to put heavy weights on there, to use it for your summertime deep water rods and torpedo rods and so on and so forth. That being said, I have the bigger size 5 silver horde plug on this one, and I'm really focusing on this guy down close to the bottom, within 10 feet of the bottom of whatever depth I'm in. I'm trying to put it down in front of them and piss them off. For me, I'm trophy hunting at this time of the year. I'm not really caring about limiting out 5 kings and, you know, most of them being, you know, 12 pounders to 15 pounders. I'm trying to catch some of the biggest kings that are in these harbors or out in the water. And what better way to do that than with a bigger bait for potentially bigger fish, bigger bite. So I'm going with the size 5 and I'm running that very low, deep in the water. On the flip side of it, because for me, I want to keep these fish honest, I'm gonna run my other plug rod, same rod, reel setup with the Guide Select Pro, the Kuma Cold Water 20-pound braid. But I'm running the size 4 silver horde plug on this one, the smaller guy. And I'm gonna be using a torpedo on this again. It's gonna be the 8-ouncer. And where I'm focusing putting this plug at is in that mid-water column depth. So let's say I'm in 40 feet. Well, I'm trying to put this down maybe 25, halfway in the water column. I'm checking for fish that might be moving across mid-depth and are gonna react to something like this. So if you kind of notice already that I am covering my water column, primarily bottom and mid, not worried about the high. Unless you get a lake flip and the water chills up all the way top to bottom, then you'll get some fish up high because then they're gonna be way more active. But when it's, you know, when it's piss warm like it is now, in the mid 70s, that water is very, very depressing to those fish. It keeps them down. So I'm really focused on that mid water column down to the bottom. And this guy allows me to kind of check them in that mid depth. So does the reef runner, to be quite honest with you, but there is an inherent difference between that reef runner action versus the plug action. Sometimes they can be more responsive to one or the other, which is why I would suggest running both. You know, if you're gonna run a plug, if you're gonna run a crank, run one on each side and then toy around with depth and see which one they're gonna respond to the most. Now, we covered some of the rod setups that I'm using while I'm trolling. The other great way to target kings is gonna be jigging. Now for that, I have one simple setup. It doesn't have to be complicated. In most cases, if you already have a medium action rod, that'll probably work for you right there. So you don't necessarily have to go out of your way of getting a whole new setup. But if you're curious about what I'm running, it's a Kuma SST twitching rod. It's a 7'6" length rod. I like it because it's a great multi-purpose rod. I can cast anything I want with it. I can vertical jig. I can even, and actually I'll show you here in a second, use it for a bobber rod for skiing as well. I've got that paired here with the Kuma ITX CB spinning reel, 3,000 size, 20-pound braided line. That goes to a small little swivel up here somewhere with about a 15 to 18 inch, 20-pound fluoro lead. And then we're fishing jigs off of it. So let me kind of talk to you about jigs and the kind of options you have with that. So when it comes to jigs, I really prefer what I would say are lighter jigs. I recently came back from a trip over on the Michigan side and Ludington and Manistee, and those folks will fish 1 and 2 ounce jigs, even in like 30 feet of water for those kings. Obviously they still catch fish, but for me, I've tried that and I just don't get the same amount of bites and interactions with these kings as I do when I go, you know, smaller. And by smaller, I'm talking about 1/2 ounce, 3/8, 5/8, 3/4. I like those weights. You can run P lines, are great. You can do a Binks jig. I like the chartreuse whites. I like all white. I like green, white. I like a chrome one, just a straight chrome or a gold. I don't really get too in the weeds with colors. I just keep it simple. Whites, chartreuses, greens, glows, chromes. You get the idea. Any one of those kind of colors I think work great. And one jig that I picked up while I was over on the Michigan side that's very popular for them are the EJ jigs. So I picked up these guys. They don't make them any smaller than 1 ounce. but I'm gonna give them a shot anyway. They look good. This is a green glow. This is like a Wonder Bread splatter. I thought it was really interesting. I think it'll catch some fish. So we'll give these guys a shot here. And when you're jigging, you know, you're simply pitching it out there, lifting up. It's pretty straightforward tactic. There is some nuance to it. Maybe it's something that's worth diving into in a future video and or even an in-depth course on how I do it, because I look for certain conditions before I even drop a jig down. Where most guys try to force a jig bite, I think that's wasted time on the water, and that's my opinion with that. The other way you could jig for kings is with plastics. It's another great way, and I really think the plastics come into the zone in that initial first couple of weeks of the run. When they first come in, those fish are really aggressive, and they're willing to take the plastic. Once you kind of get late season, they're not as responsive to the plastic jig bite. So I have power bait 5-inch jerk shads here. You could put this on a 3/8 ounce darter jig head or a 3/8 ounce swim bait jig head of choice, and cast it out, hop it along, hop, 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 jerk, jerk, jerk. You got to find the cadence that they want, but when they're on it, they are on it. You can't go wrong with white. You can use another color if you want, but I just like white, keep it simple. Something new that I'm going to try this year are the Z-Man. These are the jerk shads, 5-inch. They got scent on them, so I'm interested to see if there's a scent going to play any kind of part in this. Other than that, I do like the idea that the Elastec is super, super durable. You know, a lot of the issues you go with the power baits, why I have 3 packs here, is because when they're on that bite, you go through these like nothing, because it's a very supple plastic, and they'll rip it right. One fish will rip it right apart, and so you'll go through them pretty quickly. So we'll see how these elastics hold up. I suspect they're going to hold up a lot better, and we'll try those guys out. What else do we want to talk about? Oh, let's talk about meat. I know I talked about paddles briefly. Let me go back and touch on that. When I put the majority of my flashers away, and I only kept out my bigger paddles, my 10 inchers, my 11 inchers, and just a few 8 inchers that I really like for this time of year. I'm not gonna go through all of them right now, but I'll just show you quickly. You know, you saw the one I showed you that's hooked up. I like just the straight Prism 11 incher. It's another good one I like this time of year. I like the Pro Troll, just the crushed silverback. There's another one that, again, I'm putting these down on the bottom, right in front of their face, just off the bottom. We've got 10 incher white slick. Can't go wrong with that white slick and 10 inch. And then I got a couple of 8 inchers in here as well that I like to just kind of have in case I want to do something with those. And in this case, I'll use those 8 inchers if I'm going to run meat. And I will still run meat off the kayak, off the rigger. I'll run some meat there if I'm fishing out in the open water. I won't do this in the harbor, but if I'm still out in the open water and I'm finding kings out in the open water, I will run some meat out there to get some bite opportunities there. Tend to get some of those bigger fish. And so meat is still part of the fall program. Not a huge part of it, but I will incorporate in there. And that's really based on where I'm fishing and what I'm seeing. Never hurts. I wouldn't say this is necessary for most guys. It starts to get really in depth with that stuff. But for me, I will implement that. I'm also going to be running longer fly leads. So I got my flies on here that are for my 11-inch boards, or all on my little board, which, by the way, if you didn't see my video talking about these little boards, fly boards are fantastic. I'll link to them down below. You can check them out and get these off of Amazon. They're really, really convenient. Love them. So I got a collection of flies on there for the 11-inch flashers and the 10-inch flashers. Another 10-inch flasher I really like, especially in the low light, or if I'm in the dark fishing, just a 10-inch Spin Doctor White Crush. That crush tape glows with the white fly. And again, I'm fishing that right off the bottom. I think I kind of covered, crash course of what I've got rigged up, what I'm setting up to set up for the kayak for the rest of this year in terms of the fall kings and all of that. Again, if you want to get more in depth on how to target staging kings, how to fish for the fall kings in these harbors, where I break down the harbors and where areas that you want to check out and focus on and how to fish it, check out the e-courses linked down below off my Patreon. I'll be posting updates for my fall fishing on my Patreon as well. For supporters out there, you have access to it. You can join as a free member as well, because I do share information for everyone to get a part of. But definitely the fish reports are going to be in there as well the day of, so you guys can take advantage and know what's working for me, so you can take that, run out there and get some fish for yourself. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today, kind of setting up for the fall king run. I'm excited. I suspect we'll see some big fish this fall. And I'm looking forward to sharing my Fall King adventures with you guys soon on the channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.